has pulled G4. Like it's gone again. So if you weren't familiar with G4, it was sort of like a gamer focused TV network that was mostly used in the early 2000s. It kind of obviously died out when YouTube started becoming a thing because people started doing their own shows like AVGN and all that other stuff. So you didn't really need G4 as much. And as the internet got better and better, like the gaming coverage from that channel is like you just go IGN or look it up online. Like you didn't really need the channel anymore. But they decided to come back around a few years ago. They decided to come back with a bunch of old shows.
It was actually last year.
Oh, it was only last year? All right, that's crazy. Alrighty. So that makes this a little more awkward. So yeah, it was last year that I decided to come back. And they had some of the older shows coming back, like Attack of the Show. Now that was a pretty mainstream show that they used to have. But it also got some bigger people or bigger YouTube people like The Completionists. He was doing a lot of stuff for them. I think they got some Scott the Woz videos to just play on there, but they were like censored and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seemed that the people were very happy. Like I know Completionists was very happy to be on there, saying there was Scott the Woz and stuff. But it seems like it just wasn't doing well enough, and they pulled the plug. There was a lot of other drama surrounding this. Like I know there's been a lot of drama surrounding some of the members and stuff, but I don't know enough to really get into that. But it just seems like this just seems like it was a nice thing to bring back, but I think bringing it up to this scale because they had so many employees and stuff, it just wasn't sustainable. And I think they should have known that because it was already a niche thing. And since the internet is so much more competitive than like TV, I guess, with like gaming stuff, it's like it was no doubt that this was gonna get shut down or something just because I think they were just doing too much and it just wasn't enough because it wasn't like as much of an audience for it as it used to be.
Yeah, and I mean, when they first announced their sort of comeback tour, if you will, everyone was pretty excited because this is sort of a nostalgic show, a nostalgic TV network for a lot of people that were looking for gaming coverage back in the day before the days of the internet. I know that what's his name, Spawnwave, he did a excellent video sort of talking about the downfall of this network. And I obviously didn't grow up during the G4 era, but he did. So he had a lot of things to say on it on his second channel. What's it called? This is from an older video, or maybe from his main channel. I can't fucking remember where I watched this video from him. But because he uploads so fucking much, it was on his main channel. It's called Let's Talk About the G4TV situation. And he pretty much talked about how back in the day, G4 would literally just have hours of just them, showing raw gameplay. That was just a thing on their TV channel. Nowadays, you can't fucking do that on G4 because there is a thing called the internet where there's going to be 20 different YouTube channels doing that. And they're all moderately successful. And it is very weird and very strange in how certain channels like that just, sort of come up and become successful because there is a niche for that sort of, want for gameplay. Brand new games come out. They want to see someone play it with no commentary, no none. They just want to see the gameplay.
That used to be so big back in the day on YouTube. Yeah. I remember there was a bunch of unnarrated long plays of stuff, and that used to be a thing.
Yeah.
But
nowadays with the sort of, Elgato and a bunch of other different capture cards, it's so easy and so accessible for anyone to really do that now. When G4 was doing it, it was like no one had a fucking capture card. No one knew how they were capturing this gameplay, but they had it. So they were able to, have that sort of monopoly on that kind of content. But nowadays when they came back and when they sort of tried to bring back that same success, it obviously didn't hit the same marks. And that sucks because, they brought back Adam Sessler, who obviously people were excited for because he is one of the biggest sort of gaming journalistic names out there. He has stated on his Twitter that he is not looking for another job or looking towards YouTube or Twitch to sort of reignite his thing. He was literally just doing this comeback as a thing for fun. He doesn't need the money or anything like that. I think that's what he said on his Twitter. It's like he wanted to do this because this seemed like something that was too attached to him, in my opinion, that he was like, if I don't fucking do it, why not kind of thing. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure if I worded myself correctly there, but yeah. And then the G4 channel, they realized that that the algorithm wasn't favoring them, uploading everything on one channel. So they somehow managed to get all of like the different videos onto like separate channels. I don't know how the fuck they did that, because that was like very weird for me. I was like, wait, what the hell is going on?
Right.
So yeah, they like somehow managed to like, pick and choose certain videos and plot them onto other channels and whatnot. And I was like, okay, they're actually taking steps to sort of find success within the YouTube algorithm, but obviously it didn't work. And that is unfortunate, because this is something that, people would like to see on the same level as like IGN, GameSpot, all of the other big gaming networks that we have today on the internet. But unfortunately, they were just never able to hit their strides and hit their marks.
Yeah, it really was just kind of like a relic of its time. Like, this was like basically a passion project for people to see it come back. But obviously just times have changed, and I guess G4 doesn't really have a space anymore. And that kind of goes to show that it's kind of weird that YouTubers basically have outgrown TV at this point. Like,
Yes.
I think TV channels want to be YouTubers at this point, because there just is like less effort and like more pay, basically. So why wouldn't you want to do that? Like, I feel like traditional TV shows and channels are just going more down the wayside now. Obviously there's always gonna be a market for that stuff, but I think in terms of gaming, like, I think having like a whole dedicated TV channel just isn't it anymore.
Yeah, and even going back to another YouTuber that I watched talk about this, Mr. Matty Plays, he talked about this way before the whole official announcement of it all just shutting down. This was when the whole layoffs were happening.
Right.
He talked about how like nowadays with like gaming channels and gaming journalism, we saw it happen with Game Over Greggy, Greg Miller. He was a prominent voice on IGN, and then he made his own thing called Kinda Funny, and then someone within Kinda Funny, Colin, he made his own thing. I forget exactly what it's called, but he made his own thing, and now that is like super duper successful on top of, Kinda Funny and all of these other sort of YouTuber-centric channels are. And because they sort of grew up within these spaces, they know how to function around them. And it is kind of weird and kind of, I guess, scary at the same time that like, traditional news and sort of traditional networks in general like this within gaming are just not going to work. It just seems very, very weird, because, me and you, we grew up watching IGN and watching their reviews. And I feel like nowadays we don't watch them all that much.
I always use them as like sort of like a baseline. I'm like, oh, this game got a 7, because they give everything a 7. So then I look at like actual Metacritic or whatever, actual reviewers I watch, but I just skip to the end of their reviews, because that's all you really need.
Yeah.
But I also think that just to show that TV is kind of just like gone now. I mean, I think we're probably one of the last generations to really even had memories of watching TV at this point, like as children. Like obviously I remember going to TV guides and looking at when new episodes are going to show, stuff I want to watch or whatever. But at a certain point, it was just gone, because when YouTube got big, that's all I used. Like by the time 2008 rolled around, or like that's when I was like fully using YouTube, like 2007 and 8. So I could watch like Naruto in like 10 episodes. I didn't watch Naruto though, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like I think TV just became like just an outdated thing, and YouTube channels, especially gaming, had just gained so much traction over the years that you just don't need it. Like I have all the information I need, and I have funny gaming like review stuff for Ravi, like Scott the Waz or whatever, that I would watch instead of like just like whatever G4 was doing. So yeah. Overall, I just feel like it had no place anymore, and really the only reason it existed was more for nostalgia or just passion for these people. And I'm glad they had the passion, but it's still business at the end of the day, and they had to keep it afloat, and it just didn't.
Yeah, like you said, I think that they had way too many people on. And they obviously had to keep it going and keep these paychecks going, but they just did not have the funds or the success on YouTube. The ad revenue, let alone was just not there. If you look at their channels, it's like a couple thousand, 10,000. I mean, X Play is definitely like their more successful one because Adam Sessler's on there. But when you look at the, I guess, like regular G4 channel, it's like it's real bad. Well, not real bad, but like it's not what it could be, in the grand scheme of things, comparatively to the other bigger names out there. Fucking Scott the Waz is able to pull millions of views on his videos, but then again, his videos, he takes a long time making them, and they are crafted very, very well. And I'm sure he got the bag from G4. All of that time that he spent trying to edit those videos and stuff like that was hopefully worth it for whatever paycheck that he got.
Yeah. I had another point and I forgot. But I think that's all I really had to say.
Okay, yeah. G4, it's over again. It sucks. It is what it is.
Yeah.